there's fear on this side, there's entrepreneur on this side that feels really good, sexy, I want it, and then there's this big fence between. I'm going to tear that fence down and share exactly the thinking that you need to have, the transformation that's required, and how to actually go from a W-2 employee to an entrepreneur, and whether or not even if you should. The reason everybody wants to become an entrepreneur is because you see entrepreneurs on social media in the world and they have lots of money, meaning they can make anything they want happen. And those folks can basically define their entire world and their day, meaning they have time freedom, they have money freedom, so they can do anything they want. And that feels and looks very sexy. What no one talks about, and absolutely no one talks about, is the amount of time that those folks had to go through life and suffer. I spent 15 years making almost no money while all my friends kept getting raises and more responsibility at their W-2 jobs. See, the W-2 thing is very safe. There's this huge area in here where you're getting increased responsibility, more income, and a lot of security and safety. Entrepreneurs, we have years, decades of uncertainty, fear, hard work, like it's just nuts. But if you stay with your vision and you do the hard work that's required and you're disciplined, at some point the hockey stick goes up. As you think about your life, as you think about where you are today as a W-2 employee, the question is, how much are you willing to actually suffer? And how long are you willing to wait for gratification, wait to have anything you want, wait to have time freedom, wait to actually define the world that you would like to be, and in the meantime, work your butt off. Okay, so the very first part is either you are born an entrepreneur or you're not, and that's not always true, meaning you can be born to be an entrepreneur, but you can then develop skills like I did in order to embrace entrepreneurship. So I want to talk about the actual ways to know whether or not you're suited for this world. Number one, are you okay with basically uncertainty? Not knowing what you have to do next, but knowing you actually have to take a step. That is the definition of entrepreneurship. So number one, are you okay and comfortable with a lot of uncertainty in your life? That is a massive part of being an entrepreneur. Number two, are you completely always willing to self-diagnose and develop? There's this gap theory in business. It's like, who do I need to be to win? And then who am I today? And understanding that gap between is what entrepreneurs are. That's what we do. We think, I want this thing. I want to go and build this business. I want to solve this problem. And I know that I'm not ready. I have some missing skills. I have a missing network. I need tools. I need people. I need something in my life in order to get there. And I'm not even really sure what it is. This is that story of transformation. That is what defines being an entrepreneur. Number three, this is really an easy thing. Know who you are. Meaning, if you're a construction guy and you love real estate, don't go try to be a professional services person. If you're a CPA and you are doing taxes, guess what? You can actually live in that world and create a really great business as a CPA, but you're not going to go out and become a marketer. And so the next thing, the third thing is really be clear about who you are. Who you are, what your network is, what you're wildly good at, and what you're not good at. That's the other thing is there's this, you got to have a come to Jesus conversation with yourself. Like, what are my skill sets? What am I really good at? What am I wildly successful at? What do people give me affirmations about? Meaning your friends, the 5 people that know you the most, what do they say you're really great at? What do they say that you suck at? You actually have to be okay and embrace that and want that in your life. So that's the first thing. Those 3 things are the first things to define if you want to be an entrepreneur. So now we've decided, I want to own a business. I either want to buy a business or I want to build a business. And the most important step in this is simply taking action. I sent my kids to this entrepreneurial school and we were together having dinner with 8 other dads. And we're just going around the room and actually introducing everybody. And in that conversation, one of the guys said, I'm going to buy a business. I'm currently kind of on the hunt. And that was how he introduced himself. So after the introductions, I pulled him aside. I'm like, hey, Mike, how many businesses have you actually underwritten? And he looks at me and he was like, shock. And he says, actually, I haven't underwritten any businesses. That's an example of a person who says, I work out just driving to the gym and watching people through the window. And the reality is the very number one thing that you have to do if you make the decision to move forward and transition from a W-2 employee to an entrepreneur is you have to be able to take massive action. Action is the differentiator in this game. That is it. Most people are thinking. Most people are, doing their spreadsheets. Most people are calculating, like, do I have enough cash and am I worried? Entrepreneurs, they take action, and massive action, more action than you've ever taken in your life, because it literally becomes life or death. If you don't take action, you will not win. And so, number one, if you've decided to make this move and move forward, take action. Number two, know what the problem that you're gonna solve, meaning how are you going to take your unique skills, we did this gap analysis. We know exactly what your history has been. How are you going to take your unique skills out into the marketplace and solve a problem? Now, what's interesting about this is the larger the market, the bigger the market, the larger the problem you're solving, the more successful you're going to be. If you solve it in a unique way, or you have a different spend, or you have a competitive advantage, like I have a lower cost to produce this product, or my marketing is way better than all my competitors. So you have to be able to solve a problem, and the larger the market, the bigger the TAM, total addressable market, the more successful you're gonna be. And you have to think through, how am I different? What am I gonna deliver that's unique? What are my customers thinking about buying and selling this product? Guess what? If you're a travel agent right now, that's a hard world to survive. But if you hyper niche and you serve one unique client, if you're in one area, you can actually run a very successful travel agency. And so the interesting thing here is most people simply don't know what they want to do. That's the challenge, is like, I want to own a business, but I don't know what. And so the way through that is understanding who you are, what the market needs, what your unique capacities are, who you're gonna actually solve the problem for, how you can be different, and then make a plan. Besides taking action, which is number one, the next thing is have a really good plan. Most people don't write down in life what they want. And in this video, what I want you to think about is use paper, use pen, write down the vision for the people you're gonna solve. Who am I gonna solve a problem for? What are they gonna say about my product or service? How am I actually gonna take that to market? What's my differentiators? These are the things, if you have a written plan, that will set you apart from the other folks in your world. Now that you have a plan, the next thing is, who do I need on my team? What are the resources that you actually need to implement in order to make that plan come to life? So number one, is it more time? Is it money? Is there people? Do you need to bring talent into your world? Do you need a partner? Guess what? A lot of businesses are started with partnerships because there's a complementary world around that. If you want to start a business, but you don't have a particular skill set, that is your opportunity to look in your network and say, hey, I know to win in this business, I'm going to need this skill set. Who do I know that has that and can demonstrate that skill or that acumen at a really high level? Maybe we could partner together. So the next piece of this is determining what your resources are, who you're gonna actually need in order to win, whether it's money or time or a human, and get to work on actually addressing your first step. Next, what is your support network gonna look like? Who are your mentors? Who are your peers? What about your banker? What about your person who's gonna help you with technology? What about the person that's gonna be in your insurance? Who's your lawyer? Like all of these conversations about what's the infrastructure required in order to launch and be successful at launching. I can't tell you how many business owners out there don't have a formalized invoice. They don't have a process of actually giving somebody a bid to do work. They don't have a payment plan, or they don't have a payment processor. You've got to get all that infrastructure stuff set up and ready to go. And then, and this is really important, you need to actually test your theory. This is a place that most people just simply don't do. Once you've got your plan, you've got your team, you understand what you're gonna do in the marketplace, the next thing is actually to go out and get customers. This is a wild thought, right? You're going to be a W-2 employee. Like, I don't want you to quit until you've done this step. This step is actually the most important, because you've got a theory here. Like if you're a scientist and you have a theory, you test that theory. Thomas Edison. What's interesting about Thomas Edison is that he didn't figure out how to make a light bulb. He figured out what actual chemical properties were required in order to make something glow. And he had to do that through testing. And he tested thousands upon thousands of different materials until he found the right one. So we're in this period. You have a plan. Now it's time to test it and get customer feedback, because feedback is the breakfast of champions. And if you go out and serve 5 or 10 customers and they tell you you suck and this business isn't working and we don't want to pay you, guess what? You have the wrong theory. So as an entrepreneur, this next step is to get customer feedback and actually just go to the market and serve with your product or your service. If you do all of that, guess what? You get to be an entrepreneur and come back and write a new plan, because now you actually have market insight. You actually have customer feedback. Hopefully you have revenue. And by the way, you haven't quit yet. You're doing all this as a side hustle because you're willing to do whatever it takes to actually be an entrepreneur. And that will actually create a lot more success because your identity's on the hook. You've chosen, I'm gonna be an entrepreneur, and then you've done a side hustle, meaning you worked after hours, weekends, evenings, in order to test your theories out. This is a really big deal. If you go through this process, you will find out whether entrepreneurship is actually for you or whether you should double down and keep your W-2 job. Because you've stayed to the end, I'm gonna give you 3 bonuses, and these are really big deals, especially if you're considering this transition. Number 1, I want you to know that you currently work inside of a business. So guess what? The best training is where you're at right now. I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs have W-2 employees and they don't actually talk. The W-2 employee doesn't come to the CEO and say, hey, help me understand the mindset. Help me understand what our customer market fit is. Help me understand exactly how this business runs. You have this huge opportunity for the fact that you're in a business right now. Use it, learn. You've got managers, you've got peers, you've got CEOs, you've got people inside your business, and they can give you tons of advice and learning. So number 1, you're already there. You're already inside of a business. Use that insider information to learn as much as you can about that business and how it exists, because it is transferable, not to start a business, but to run a business. So hopefully you'll use that to your advantage. Number 2, it's really important that after you've tested your market, you have a cushion, meaning your theory, you don't quit your job until you've proven your theory right, you've served some customers, and you've gotten some revenue. But things change, markets change, risks change. I mean, think about the pandemic. Think about the fact that interest rates have gone 3x in the last, 12 months. You don't want to start a business without some margin of safety. So have cash in your bank account so you can have 6 months to a year to live without drastically changing your world. It's a huge deal to actually not have money pressure as you're starting this business. The only pressure you want is customer pressure. How do I get more customers? How do I drive revenue? How do I serve them at a high level? That's the pressure you actually want in your business. What you don't want is, how am I gonna pay my mortgage, or how am I gonna feed my family? You absolutely do not want that pressure in your world. Okay. Next, and this is the final one, and it's really important, your net work is your net worth. So you have a W-2 job. You have people in your world who respect you and like you. Leave well. When you quit your job, give them plenty of time. When you leave, do it on a positive way, in a positive way. Transition somebody into your role. Make sure they have everything they need. Don't drop the ball. Don't go in the next day and say, I quit because my business is successful. They've done nothing wrong except for offer you a job and an opportunity inside their business. And so you want to actually leave well, on good terms, and protect your network, because I can tell you this, you will one day want to maybe come back to your peers, maybe come back to your bosses, and maybe they can be mentors to you, or maybe customers. So it's a really big deal that if you're deciding to leave on a good note. Okay, these are our 3 bonuses. We've gone through step by step of how. In the comments, I want you to actually put what's holding you back from starting your own company. I'm going to personally go in there and give you advice because I love this stuff. I want you to win in entrepreneurship and in life.